Hello, this is my first live YouTube video I've recorded with the help of my daughter, but this is the first live one. So again, I'm working out the bugs. I can see the screen pretty well. I can't tell if anybody else has logged on with me. I guess I'll see that later. So I appreciate your joining me today, and I also appreciate your patience through this. I hope you're all well physically and mentally. This is a tough time. I know anxiety has crept back up in me. It's something that I have issues with from time to time, and this time of our lives has certainly triggered it again. And some of my breathing practices has helped. I'm going to read a little disclaimer before every class. I'm going to keep classes on the YouTube channel very gentle until I get a little more used to this format. So here is my disclaimer. Not all exercise is suited for everyone, and this or any exercise program could result in an injury. Consult your doctor before participating in this or any exercise program. Never force or strain any of our movements or postures. Remember that we strive to make the yoga pose fit you, not the other way around. Don't try to jam yourself into a yoga pose. There's always alternatives. There's always different ways using props and whatnot. I try to teach those as I go to give you options. If you feel pain, discomfort, or dizziness, or anything else unpleasant, don't continue, please. And at any time, just rest. Go to one of the many resting poses. So, here we go. We're going to start with breath, as we always do. And remember, breath practice in Sanskrit is called pranayama. Prana, Prana, is life force energy. And that is said to ride on the breath. So a little physical review of the breathing apparatus. You have two lungs, left and right. But the lungs aren't muscles, they're tissue. They're tissue that draw in breath and release breath. And at the very distal end portions of the pathways into the lungs are little air sacs called alveoli. They look like little grapes. So we get the breath cleared out into these little tiny alveoli, and that's where the capillaries, little tiny blood vessels, live. And that's where the exchange of gases occurs. We inhale oxygen and release carbon dioxide, but we also inhale that life force, a fresh prana from the world around us. And we're able to exhale this stagnant life force, the stagnant chi, the stagnant prana. Chi is the Chinese word, Tai Chi, Qigong, for life force energy. So there's this exchange. There's this dance that occurs in the lungs. The primary mover of our breath, the primary respiratory muscle is called the diaphragm. And the diaphragm is a big double domed muscle that's kind of like a Tupperware lid in between your chest cavity and your belly. It seals. The lungs have to exist in a certain pressure. So with that muscle, that double domed muscle, there's one dome under each lung. As you inhale, it contracts and flattens. So it presses down into the contents of your belly. If you don't allow the belly to expand, the diaphragm has no place to go. The diaphragm pulls the breath into the lungs, much like a bellows does if you've ever stoked a fire with a bellows. So you pull that breath in. But if the diaphragm can't push down into the belly, the breath is very shallow. We can't get it deep into the bases, the bottoms of the lungs. A shallow breath, a shallow breathing pattern will trigger a state of anxiety in the body. So we can utilize the breath to calm the mind. So let's practice a little bit with diaphragmatic breath, allowing space for that diaphragm to move. So bring your hands to your low belly. And as you inhale, I want you to let the belly expand. Inhale deeply. And exhale. As you exhale, add a little tone to the core. Draw the navel back towards the spine, squeezing that breath out. So now the diaphragm is relaxing and pushing back into the lungs, but pull the core in to help push the breath out. Let's do that again. Release and receive the next breath. Inhale. And exhale. Let's do 3 more like that. Inhale. And exhale. 2 more, nice and slow, full and deep. Last one. Very good. Release the control on the breath. Allow it to return to its natural state. I would also like to demonstrate what it feels like when we restrict the movement of the diaphragm. So I want you to pretend that you're trying to zip up a pair of pants that are too small. And you pull the low belly in, you pull it in, you pull it in, you pull it in, and you hold it there because you're trying to get those pants zipped. Keep that contraction in the low belly. Now take a deep breath and you're going to feel movement in the ribs. Keep holding the belly. Fill up as much as you can. Now release the belly and really fill up. Let it all go. Feel the difference? So that diaphragmatic breath stimulates a nerve in the body, biggest nerve in the body called the vagal nerve. And that nerve stimulates or triggers or stimulates, I guess. I don't like that term because it's a calming force on the nervous system. It triggers the parasympathetic nervous system, and that's the rest and digest, calming you down. It's the relaxation response. And boy, we can sure use that nowadays. I know I can. But just by practicing diaphragmatic breath, let's see what happens to the energy in the body. Feel what you feel. Just notice your mind, your body. Even notice the flow of breath through left and right nostril. So pinch off one, take a breath in and out, pinch off the other, take a breath in and out. And chances are you might feel a difference in the diameter and to the patency, the openness from left to right, right to left. Let's do a little breath practice and then we'll check again and see if we've kind of balanced the breath. Again, it's a diaphragmatic breath. Take a big breath in, let the belly expand. And as you exhale, let the diaphragm relax, coming back up into the lungs, but draw that navel back towards the spine. Empty completely. And then release, receiving the next breath. Inhale. And exhale. Now keep going on your own. Let's take 8 more breaths this way. Belly expands. Exhale. Draw the navel back towards the spine. Six more. Big, deep expansion into the belly. Fill completely and exhale. Pull navel back towards spine. 4 more. Last 3. Big belly breath. Two more. Last one. Big, deep into the belly breath. Now release the control of the breath. Allow it to return to its natural state. And let your mind wander around through the body. Seeking sensation, anything you can find. No good or bad, right or wrong, just feel. Feel the energy in the body and the mind. Perhaps a more calm, relaxed, focused presence. Now check your nostrils. And just maybe through that brief breath practice, pranayama, you have a more balanced breath. And we'll talk about that another time, how the nervous system relates to the left and right nostrils. But for now, let's get going with our yoga practice, our asana. This is a very gentle practice. It's a hatha practice. So we'll be holding poses longer. Very gentle practice, kind of easing our way back onto the mat. I've turned my mat this way so I think you can see me a little better. I will still mirror you. So I'll say right, but I'll be moving my left and vice versa. We're going to come into a wide child's pose. So coming into table, walk towards the back of your mat, bring your big toes together, walk your knees really wide, left and right edges of the mat. Now set your hips back towards your heels. Now for some of us, doing this just doesn't feel good in the hips and in the legs. So you can keep your bottom up if you need to. But if you can bring your bottom back and let your chest come down to the mat, forehead to the mat, or you can stack your fists under the mat. If you need to keep your bottom up in more of a happy puppy pose, keep the bottom up and rest your forehead on your hand. In any case, come back down, reach your arms long if you can, if you're in child's pose. I'll turn my head from time to time so you can hear me, but you can keep your forehead down. Let the chest sink. Nice deep inhale into the belly. Feel that stretch the back open and exhale. Draw navel back towards spine. 3 more like this. Inhale. And exhale. 2 more. Deep down into the hips. Last one. And then rise up into table. Knees under hips. Wrists under shoulders. Tuck your toes and set back on your heels. Now this is a nice stretch. I say nice. It's an intense stretch in the soles of the feet. So sit back, keep the toes tucked. Pause here for a moment. Roll the shoulders up, back, and down. Reach through the crown of the head. Take a couple of breaths here. Now walk the hands in front of the knees. We're going to come up onto the balls of the feet, working our way into a forward fold, Uttanasana, with the fingertips on the mat. Lift the hips up, but keep the knees bent as much as you need to. Step the feet hip distance apart. And this is a stretch for the hamstrings, so we're just warming up. Don't force this stretch. Keep the knees bent. And then maybe you work a little towards stretching, straightening the knees, straightening the legs, maybe softening through the hips. Do that again. Lift the hips, let the crown of the head hang. Exhale, soften. Now as we hang here for a bit, grab opposite elbows. Now let your arms hang, let your head hang. Shake your head, yes. And shake your head, no. Continuing to breathe deeply, the belly's pressed against the thigh. So you feel this in the back. Feel that stretch with the inhale. One more. Now keeping your knees bent. This is for your low back. I want you to roll up slowly, one vertebrae at a time. Knees are bent. Arms hang. And come up to a neutral position. Mountain pose, Tadasana. Reach up through the crown of the head. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Your feet are hip distance apart, and all the joints in the body are stacked. Take your hands in front of your heart. Cross your hands here. Tuck the chin a bit. Breathe. Notice the sensations, maybe more emotional sensations as the hands are crossed in front of the heart. Now bring your gaze forward. Reach out with your arms, palms up. Circle the arms behind you. I'm going to take my hands to my low back. I bring the palms of my hands to my sacrum. I'll turn so you can see me, and my fingers point down. If you have the flexibility in the wrist to do this, I can't quite do that. I'm more comfortable like this. At any rate, bring your hands to your sacrum, and then shrug the shoulders up, back, and down, reaching the elbows towards each other. Feel that opening through the front chest, and look up. Keep reaching through the crown of the head. Take a nice back bend. And take a couple breaths here. Down into the belly with the inhale. And exhale, drawing belly button towards spine. One more. Now with this exhale, I want you to start folding forward at the hip creases and smooth the hands down the backs of the legs. Now take your fingertips to your shins, push your hips back, and reach forward with the crown of your head, straightening through the legs, stretching through the hamstrings. And then folding forward, take the hands to the mat, and we're going to walk out, coming to the belly, all the way down. This is called full prostration. So you bring your forehead down, arms are forward, palms up. Rest your forehead down. I'll take 5 breaths here. Two more. Now slide your hands next to your armpits. And again, I'm going to lift my head so you can hear me. You can keep your forehead down. Elbows point up like grasshopper legs. We're going to lift the chest, keeping the low ribs on the mat, lifting up into baby cobra, bhujangasana. Let's hold this. Four more breaths deep into the belly. Three more. Two more. Last one. Now press back up into table, hands and knees. Knees under hips, wrists under shoulders. Push down into the mat. So don't let yourself sag down into the shoulders. Push down into the mat. Protect the shoulders. Let's do some cat-cow. As you inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze. So back bend. And then as you exhale, round the spine like a mad cat. Look back at your belly. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. This time we're going to hold cat. So we'll hold this extension of the spine, flexion of the spine, and keep breathing in the shape. Around that back. Keep breathing deep into the belly. Now tuck your toes, come to a neutral spine, sit back on your heels, cross your hands in front of your heart. Pause here, feeling the sensations that come with crossing your hands in front of your heart. Now reach forward with the hands, palms up, come behind you, take that same position, palms to the sacrum. Shoulders up, back and down, and then draw your elbows towards each other and lift the chest, lift the gaze. Keep reaching through the crown of the head. So don't just drop the head back. Keep reaching through the crown of the head. Keep space in the neck, in the cervical spine. Feel that stretch in the feet. And release the fingertips to the mat. Come up onto the balls of the feet. Lift the hips, forward fold. Keep the knees bent as much as you need to. Then start working the hamstrings again. So lifting the sit bones, crown of the head drops. And then softening through the hips. Inhale, lift. So feel the stretch right here. Exhale, soften. 2 more. Inhale, lift. Exhale, soften. Last one. Inhale, lift. And exhale, crawl forward, come to the belly, full prostration. Forehead down, arms forward, palms up. 3 breaths here. Now, keeping the forehead on the mat, bring the hands next to the armpits again. Elbows point up. We're going to do rolling baby cobras now. So coming up and down with the breath. Shoulders up, back, and down. On an inhale, lifting the chest, lifting the heart, the gaze follows. And then exhale, folding forward and down. Let's do 4 more. Rolling baby cobra, inhale. Unfurl your head last. And exhale. 3 more. Two more. Last one. Forehead comes down, pressing back into table. Knees under hips, wrists under shoulders. Push the hands down into the earth. So you come right up out of the shoulder sockets. That stabilizes the shoulder. Don't sink down into the shoulder space. We'll thread the needle. So I'm going to start with my right arm, taking it under my left, twisting, bringing my shoulder down, taking my left hand, pushing it down to turn my heart to the left. This is a twist. And then you have the option of reaching up with the left arm. The weight should be in your knees and in your hips. If you're feeling too much in the head, shift your weight back a bit. And breathe. 2 more. And unwind. Coming back through table. Now we'll take the left arm out and behind the right, twisting through the upper body, bringing the shoulder down, side of the head down. Now take the right hand, fingertips to the ground, push down, spinning the heart to the right. You can stay here or lift the arm. And breathe. And place the hand back down, coming back into table. Let's take a couple more cat-cow. As you inhale, come into cow, that back bend. And as you exhale, round the spine, cat. Inhale, cow. And exhale, cat. Now our next cow, we're going to hold. Inhale. Spinal extension, that back bend. Keep breathing. Keep reaching through the crown of the head. Keep space between the vertebrae and the neck. And back to a neutral spine. Curl your toes. Now curl the tailbone up towards the ceiling. Start to set your hips back. And then we're going to press the sit bones back and up, lifting up into downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. You can adjust the feet a little bit here. And we always like to wiggle when we first come into downward facing dog. So find space, find some kinks. Breath is still deep. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Just move. And work your way to stillness. Now bend your knees a lot. Come up on your tiptoes a little bit. And then lift your sit bones straight up and press your heels towards the mat. They never have to make it. If they come to the mat, that's fine. But just make that action. And breathe. Downward facing dog. Anytime you need to, you can drop your knees and come into child's pose. Let's take 3 more breaths here. Deep into the belly. Last one. And as you exhale, finding table again. I'm going to bring my left foot forward, right between my hands. Help it out if you need to. And make sure the knee is over the ankle and the knee is tracking right down the center of the foot. The feet and the foot and the knee are hip distance apart, so you may want to heel toe that front foot open. That helps with the balance when we rise up. If you keep the feet too much on a tightrope, it's a little tougher to balance. So open up the space between the legs to hip distance apart. Now rise up. Take your hands to your hips. We're going to draw the left hip back and the right hip forward. So it's just a little engagement. And you're going to feel all the muscles in the legs activate. You can feel that. Keep this tone. Rest your hands on your thigh. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. And feel the engagement of the hips, feel the engagement of the legs. Take 3 more breaths here. Really stay engaged in the hips. Last one. And then exhale, fold forward and change legs. So we're going to bring the right foot forward, right between the hands. Make sure you're on railroad tracks and not a tightrope, knee over ankle. Rise up, hands to hips. Now, before you do anything, just kind of be here and feel how you can be in this shape and not really put forth much effort in the muscles. But let's engage the muscles isometrically by drawing the right hip back and left hip forward. So your thighs are almost like the blades of scissors. You're trying to draw these thighs towards each other without producing any movement. Cross the hands in front of the knee. And breathe. Keep that engagement. 2 more. And exhale, fold forward. Find table. Tuck your toes. Curl your tailbone. Knees are hip distance apart. Send the sit bones back and up, downward facing dog. Adjust the feet, hip distance apart. Bend the knees a lot. Push the belly on the thighs. Inhale, lift the sit bones, reach down towards the mat with your heels. 5 breaths here. Three more. Last one. I'm going to tuck my chin. And as I inhale, I'm going to round forward into plank. And then unfurl my head. Shoulders are over wrists. And you can adjust the feet if you need to. Striving to keep your hips in line with your shoulders. So you don't want to let your back sag. And if you need to, you can round the low back a bit. I'm pressing more into the base of my index finger and base of my thumb. Shifting much of the weight bearing into the inner wrist. Into the radial bone, radius bone, where it's nice and fat on the end that comes to the wrist. And it's more able to bear the weight than the ulnar bone on the outside of the wrist. Let's hold this for 3 more breaths. You can drop one knee. Now drop the knees. And we're going to come to a resting pose called crocodile. So release the legs long, separate them wide to the left and right edges of the mat. Cross your hands in front of your forehead and rest your forehead down. Breath is still deep. Bend your knees and windshield wiper the knees left and right. This will release any tension in the back.
And then release the legs down for a few more breaths. This is a rest. So with every exhale, just let it go. Release everything. Now bring the legs together and the arms out long. So this is like Superman. I'm bumping into my bolster back here. With the forehead down on the mat, I want you to lift your right arm and your left leg, and your forehead can come up now. Keep your ear in line with your arm and breathe. Now feel that diagonal pull. Reach in both directions. 3 more. Last one. And exhale down. Second side. Left arm up, right leg up. And breathe, reaching both ways. Feel that diagonal stretch. And exhale down. Now with this inhale, lift it all. Lift arms and legs. Everything comes up. Locust pose. Shalabhasana. 4 more. And as you exhale, find crocodile. And in crocodile, you can always have your head turned to one side or the other. Bend the knees once again and sway the feet side to side, releasing the low back. And then release the shins down. If your head is turned, lift it and turn it the other way. Now bring the legs together, slide the hands next to the armpits, and find your way back to table. Wrists under shoulders and knees under hips. Push down into the mat. Make those arms grow nice and long. Protect your shoulders. Now we're going to do bird dog. So it's similar to what we just did with our locust pose. We're going to reach back with the right leg. Reach through the heel and reach forward with the left arm. Thumb is up. Reach in both directions. Stay strong on the right arm. Don't let yourself sag down into the shoulder socket. Now, as you exhale, round the spine, bring elbow to knee and knee to elbow. Inhale, reach long. Exhale. Inhale. 3 more. Exhale. Inhale. Last 2. And last 1. Now stay in bird dog, but we're going to lift the left foot and shin. Now you're balancing on your knee and on your hand, and you'll wobble. Hold this. Find a place to gaze and stay there with your eyes. And exhale back to table. Second side, reach back with the right leg, press through the heel, keep the hips square to the mat. Reach out with the right arm, thumb is up. Push down into the left. Reach in both directions. Exhale, round the spine, elbow to knee. Inhale, reach long. 4 more. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now hold. Lift the right foot and right shin. Balance on your knee and on your hand. And remember that wobbliness is where the work happens. And back to table. Keep your big toes together, walk those knees wide, and push back into a wide child's pose. Arms slide out long, chest comes down, forehead comes down. Breathe into the back. Now come up onto your fingertips and walk the hands to the right. So you're going to plant your hands onto the floor, push down into the floor, but don't let the hands move. You're going to push your hips back, your chest will come down. You can cross your left hand on top of or beyond the right. Rest your face in your arms. Breathe into your left ribs as you inhale. And as you exhale, maybe the chest melts a little lower. 2 more. Last one. Now uncross it. We're going to walk over to the left. Same thing. You're going to push the hands into the floor, but as you push, don't let them move. The movement will happen in the hips. Then you can stay here or cross right hand on top of or beyond the left. As you inhale, inhale deeply into the right ribs. And as you exhale, the chest sinks a little lower. 3 more. And then come forward with the arms. We're not done here. Stick those hands to your mat. Now we're going to push the mat away without letting the hands move. And watch my hips. They're going back and down. Chest drops. Forehead can come down. You can also turn your head to the side here. And breathe. And then we'll press back to table. Knees under hips, wrists under shoulders. Make sure you're towards the back of your mat. Let's do a Tibetan sun salute or 2 or 3 or 4. Tuck the toes. Now we're going to sit back on the heels again. Roll your shoulders up, back and down. And the first time we go through, we'll kind of hold at different places, and then we'll flow through this breath to breath. So with the shoulders over the hips and the ears over the shoulders, swing your hands up, come up on your knees. As you exhale, draw the hands down the center of the body. Bring your hands forward. This is a back bend. I'm going to keep my bottom up in the air and let my chest come down. Now walk your hands under your wrists and come into cat pose. Let's hold this for a couple breaths. Inhale and exhale. By keeping the toes tucked, as you inhale, push back into downward facing dog. And we'll take 5 breaths here. Three more. Now on your next exhale, we're going to drop the knees again, but we're coming into a cat back. Keep your back rounded. Hold for a couple breaths here. And then walk the hands forward. As you inhale, drop the chest back, bend, hold. Now walk your hands to your knees. As you exhale, as you inhale, lift up. And exhale, hands down the center of the body. Set your bottom back on your heels. Stretch through the sole of the feet. So now let's flow with that. Inhale up. And exhale down. Inhale, walk the arms out. Back bend. Exhale, rounded spine, cat back. Inhale, down dog. Exhale, cat back. Inhale, forward, back bend. Exhale, hands to knees. Inhale, up. And exhale, down. Let's do one more. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale, rounded spine. Inhale, down dog. Sit bones back and up. Exhale, knees down, rounded spine, cat back. Inhale, forward, happy puppy, back bend. Exhale, walk the hands to the knees. Inhale, up. And exhale, the hands home to the heart. And bring the hands down to the mat again, coming into table. And you can untuck the toes. Let's bring the left foot forward in between the hands again. And remember, railroad tracks, not tightrope. Knee over ankle. Now keeping your hands down on the mat, tuck the toes of the right foot. Push through the heel. Now you're in a folded lunge. Look back at the right foot. We're going to externally rotate the foot. We're going to rise up in warrior two, Virabhadrasana 2. So rise up and take your hands to your hips. Now the front hip pulls back a bit, and the back hip kind of wraps forward, but then everything above the hips turns and faces the long edge of the mat. Now swing your arms out to the sides. Bend your elbows, shrug your shoulders up, back and down. Pull those shoulder blades towards your spine and then straighten your arms. Feel that drop your shoulders away from your ears. Turn your gaze down your left fingertips and breathe. Warrior two, Virabhadrasana 2. Reach in both directions. 3 more. Last one. Now take your hands to your hips. Straighten that front leg. We're going to come into triangle. So I'm going to tip over, staying long through the side waist. My blocks are over there. I should have gotten them closer. Well, in fact, I think I'll get one. So if you have a block or something, a book, you can use that as a prop. I'm going to bring that block to the outside of my ankle. And as I lean over, keeping my chest square to the long edge of the mat, I'm going to reach down and place my hand on the block. Try to stack my shoulders and reach up with my right hand. Now the gaze can go down at your toes or to your right towards me, or even up towards the ceiling, as long as you keep space in the neck. And lean back in this. And breathe. Trikonasana, triangle pose. And on your next exhale, rotate forward, both hands to the block or to the mat. We're going to come onto the toes and step back into plank. Shoulders under or over top of wrists. And feet are hip distance, and try to bring the hips in line with the shoulders. Draw the navel back towards the spine. Engage the core, support the low back. 5 more breaths. And again, one knee down or both knees down, or just take a rest in child's pose. 4 more. I'm shaking. It's been a while since I held a plank. And now drop your knees. Keep your toes tucked. We're going to lift right up into downward facing dog. Let's hold here for 5 breaths. And I always like to kind of set up my down dog, bending the knees, and then sit bones go up as heels go down. 3 more breaths. And as you exhale, float the knees down, coming back to table. Now we're going to bring the right foot forward between the hands. Hub it out. Railroad tracks. Knee over ankle. And take a peek back at that leg as you tuck your toes, left leg. Push through the heel. Now you're in a lunge. I want you to drop that heel inward and the toes outward, externally rotating the hip. Rising up, hands to hips. Knee is over ankle, and I can see my toes. And my knee is tracking right down the center of my toes. Don't let your knee drift in or out. Pull the, let's see, this would be right hip back, left hip kind of wraps forward. Everything else turns to the long edge of your mat. Bring your arms out. Bend the elbows, shoulders up, back, and down. And then reach through the hands. Turn the gaze to the right fingertips. Reach in both directions. Feel the power of the warrior. 3 more. Now hands to hips. Straighten the front leg. Getting ready for triangle. I always think of I'm a little teapot. I'm tipping over. Now I can bring that block here, or I can take my hand anywhere to my shin. You can even bring your hand to the floor. Now open up through the chest, stack the shoulders, reach up with the left arm, and play with your gaze. Just keep lengthening the neck as you turn and look around a little bit. Lean back in this. And on the next exhale, unwind, stepping back. Let's do one more plank. We're going to hold this for 8 breaths. We'll go out with a bang. Inhale and exhale. And notice the chatter in your mind. Step back and watch it. Don't be part of it. Witness that chatter. Halfway there. 3 more. Last one. And exhale, drop the knees, big toes together, knees wide. Child's pose, let it go, exhale. Relax everything. Wiggle the fingers, circle the wrists. And then inhale back to table and swing your legs around. We'll do a couple seated poses before we come into our final relaxation, Shavasana. Bring the legs out long. Legs are hip distance apart. Take the hands behind you, fingers point forward. Elbows bend and point behind you. I'm going to lean back like I'm in a lazy boy. I'm going to push my hands into the floor, lifting my ribs away from the pelvis. You can even kind of lift the weight off your bottom so your pelvis hangs. Feel that space in the low back, that decompression of the spinal column. Now keep that and come up on the sit bones. Dandasana, staff pose. Hamstrings can be an issue for lots of us. I am among them. So if you feel like this is straining in your low back and not just a stretch here, bend your knees a little bit. Sitting tall. Now bend your right knee. Bring your right foot to the mat. Keep a little space between the foot and the leg. And then come up on the sit bones like you're trying to stand on this foot. Keep this foot flexed. We're going to take the left arm, wrap it around the right knee. Now you can stay like this, or you can take your right hand behind you really close to your hip, push down, lift those ribs away from the pelvis. Feel the space in the spine. Inhale here, and then as you exhale, twist. Look over your right shoulder. Every inhale is a reminder to sit tall, and every exhale is a reminder to maybe twist a little deeper. Nothing forced though. Inhale. Still deep into that belly, and exhale. Now unwind. I'm going to take my right foot. Let's open the right knee first, and now take the ankle past the left thigh. We're going to slide the left foot onto the mat, coming into a number 4 hip stretch. So again, I've got my hands behind me, elbows are bent, and then I can lead with my heart, coming forward any amount, getting a nice stretch. Keep your right foot flexed and keep pushing the right knee away. Breathe. And then release both legs out long. Lift those ribs away from the pelvis. Feel that space and come up on the sit bones, the ischial tuberosities. And breathe in staff pose again, bending your knees if you need to. Second side, left knee, bend it, Plant the foot on the mat, keep the right foot flexed. Now come up on the sit bones. Wrap your right arm around your left knee. You can just do your I Dream of Jeannie pose here, grabbing your elbows. Or you can take your left hand behind you, push down, sit tall. Inhale, exhale, turn and look over your left shoulder. Inhale deep into the belly. And exhale completely. Keep that thigh drawn close to the belly. Make it tough for you to breathe. Strengthen your diaphragm. And then facing forward, open the left knee out, cross the left ankle past the right thigh so you can flex the foot, protecting the knee. Reach behind you, slide your right foot up, push down, lifting the ribs up and away from the pelvis, and then forward any amount with the heart. Foot is flexed and my left knee is reaching away. And then release the legs long. Come up on the sit bones. Bend both knees, bring the soles of the feet together, Baddha Konasana, bound angle pose. Take your hands to your ankles. So the tendency sometimes is to sit like this. Pull the ankles so that your pelvis comes forward. Get that nice inner curve in the low back. Shoulders can be up, back, and down, nice and broad through the front of the chest. Inhale for length in the spine, and as you exhale, you're going to lead with the heart, folding forward any amount. And if you have the flexibility for your forearms to come out here and rest on the shins, the weight of the forearms can open the hips a bit. And if you squeeze your glutes together, you'll feel the hips open a little more. And keep folding forward. The spine should be neutral. The fold should occur at the hip crease. Now as you inhale, rise up. Take your right hand behind you. Bring your left knee on top of the right. We're going to twist and look over the right shoulder. Sage twist. Inhale and exhale. Inhale forward, second side, stacking right knee on top of left. Turn and look over the left shoulder. And then facing forward. Let's come down to the mat for our final relaxation. And as you come to the mat, just move a little bit. Just see what your body needs to settle in. You can do some circling through your hips. They can go the same direction or an opposite direction. Maybe you need a nice twist. Just move. And sometimes just by moving, your body will tell you what it needs to do to finally settle in. Shavasana translates, it's a Sanskrit word that means corpse pose. And corpse pose is with the legs long, but open wide to the left and right edges of the mat. Arms are out to the sides with the palms up, but away from the torso a little bit. The arms and legs are positioned so you can have some external rotation and just really relax. Open through the shoulders, open through the hips. And begin to breathe deep down into the belly. Now, for some people, this doesn't feel so good on the low back. And if that's the case for you, bend your knees, keeping the feet wide to the left and right edges of the mat, and then let your knees come together like a teepee. This is called constructive rest. There are other options, but let's go with those two today. But if you have a favorite one, go ahead and find a shape that you can totally release and surrender to. Inhaling and exhaling. And without attempting to control the breath, let it just settle into hardly a whisper. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose. Bring your awareness to the very tip of your nose, only there, just there. Notice the sensation of the breath coming and going. As you inhale, notice the breath is cool. And as you exhale, notice the breath has been warmed to the same temperature as the body. Feel the turbulence of the breath in the nostrils. In the left nostril, in the right nostril. See how far back in the throat you can feel the caress of the breath. No place to go, nothing to do, just breathe. As the mind wanders, it will. Just notice when that happens and bring your awareness, your focus back to sensation, back to the breath. And do that as many times as you need to. And begin to deepen your breath. Do nothing more, just a deeper breath. And be very curious about the sensations in the body now that the breath is deeper. And let that deeper breath go way down into your toes, way down into your fingers, and let the presence of the breath invite movement in small ways back to those places, wiggling fingers, wiggling toes. And let that movement just organically expand into wrists and ankles. And roll your head from ear to ear, but do that slowly so you really feel the weight shift from one ear to the other. And on your next inhale, reach overhead. We call this good morning stretch. So you're reaching through the legs, reaching through the arms. And as you exhale, draw both knees into the chest, wrapping your arms around your knees. Up and asana. You can do some movement through the ankles, through the hips, and maybe even roll from elbow to elbow. Again, slowly feeling the weight shift. And now roll to your right side and stay there, resting your head on your arm, stacking your shoulders, stacking your hips, and letting your eyes blink, open and close a few times. And as you're ready to rise up, reach long with the top leg, push the hands down into the floor, down into the mat, and come back up to a seated position. Well, we made it. I hope it went well. I hope you could hear me. I hope to leave this up online so you can access it through the week. I'll be teaching a couple more classes through the week, our regularly scheduled times. Tai Chi is on Thursday at 12:30, I believe, and Friday will be 7 a.m. class for you early birds. Another slow hatha class. So let's inhale, reach up, gather what you need between your hands. And as you exhale, draw that home to the heart. As always, may you have peaceful thoughts,
peaceful words, a